What happens when one of Hollywood's most revered actresses encounters a talk show host who refuses to show even basic respect? Today, we're diving into a confrontation that made headlines, left Kate Winslet storming off a set, and had Joy Behar completely caught off guard. This is a story about boundaries, dignity, and what unfolds when those lines are crossed. Live, on national television. Stick around, because this is one encounter you won't forget, and make sure to hit subscribe and drop your thoughts in the comments on how you think it all went down. The tension in the studio was almost tangible from the moment Kate Winslet stepped onto the View set. Fresh off a critically lauded performance, she was slated for a standard promotional interview. Routine, professional, unremarkable. But nobody could have predicted how quickly things would spiral out of control. "Welcome back to The View, everyone!" Whoopi Goldberg greeted with her trademark warmth. Today, we're joined by the incredibly talented Kate Winslet, starring in what many are calling her most powerful performance yet. Kate settled into her chair with the poise and grace that had made her a household name. "Thank you so much for having me, Whoopi. It's always a pleasure to be here," she said, radiating calm confidence. For the first few minutes, the conversation flowed smoothly. Sarah Haynes asked insightful questions about Kate's preparation for her role, while Sunny Host complimented the film's socially important message. Kate spoke passionately about her craft, demonstrating the skill and dedication that had earned her an Oscar. But then, Joy Behar leaned in, a familiar smirk curling her lips. A sign viewers knew spelled trouble. "So, Kate," Joy began, her tone sugary but sharp, "I have to ask something that's been on my mind. You've been in Hollywood for what, 30 years? And yet you're still playing these romantic leads. Don't you think maybe it's time to face the fact that those days are behind you?" A hush fell over the studio. Kate's smile flickered, just for a heartbeat, before she regained her composure. "I'm sorry, Joy, but I'm not sure I follow," she replied, polite but firm. "Oh, come on," Joy continued, waving her hand dismissively. "You're not getting any younger. Shouldn't you be taking on roles more age-appropriate? Playing mothers, grandmothers, instead of competing with actresses half your age?" Whoopi shifted uneasily in her seat, sensing the conversation veering into dangerous territory. "Joy, I think," she began, but Joy cut her off, voice sharpening. No, let me finish. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. There's something almost desperate about older actresses holding onto roles meant for women in their 20s and 30s. Honestly, it's not a good look, Kate." Color drained from Kate's face, but her voice stayed steady. "Joy, I think there's been a misunderstanding. The character I play is a woman in her 40s, grappling with very adult themes. This isn't about age, it's about telling meaningful stories." Joy laughed harshly. "Meaningful stories? Please. You're just dressing up and pretending to be someone you're not anymore. Acting is one thing, but delusion? That's another." "Delusion," Kate echoed, her voice barely a whisper, eyes glistening with the hurt that was impossible to hide. "That's enough, Joy," Whoopi interjected firmly. But Joy pressed on. "Look, I'm not trying to be cruel here. I'm just being honest. Hollywood refuses to let women age gracefully, and when actresses like you continue taking these roles, you're part of the problem." Kate inhaled slowly, hands clasped tightly in her lap. "Joy, I have to say, I'm genuinely surprised by this line of questioning. I came here to talk about a film exploring resilience, identity, and human connection. The age of my character isn't relevant to the story we're telling." "Is it, though?" Joy countered, relentless. "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like another attempt by Hollywood to sell the fantasy that women over 40 can still be leading ladies. It's not realistic, Kate." The cameras captured every micro-expression, every flicker of emotion across Kate's face. Here she was, one of the most celebrated actresses of her generation, being told she was too old to do her job, Then, her voice steady but edged with unmistakable resolve, Kate spoke. Joy, I have to ask, would you ever say this to a male actor? Would you tell George Clooney or Brad Pitt they're too old for romantic roles? Joy scoffed, and the room held its breath. This was more than a disagreement. It was a stark reminder of the double standards in Hollywood and of the courage it takes to stand firm when confronted with public disrespect. That's completely different, and you know it, Kate said, leaning in, her voice calm but sharp. How is it different, Joy? Joy's reply was blunt. Men age differently than women. They get distinguished. We just get old. That's reality. The studio fell into stunned silence. You could literally hear a pin drop. Even the crew behind the cameras had frozen, eyes glued to the unfolding drama. Kate stared at Joy, her expression unreadable, absorbing the weight of that statement. When she finally spoke, her voice was measured, but you could feel the fire simmering beneath. That is the most archaic, sexist thing I've heard in a long time. And coming from a woman, it's particularly disappointing. Oh, please, Joy rolled her eyes. Don't lecture me about sexism. I've been fighting that battle longer than you've been alive. Kate's composure began to crack, but her words were razor sharp. Then why, Joy, are you perpetuating it? Why are you sitting here telling me my value as an actress expires at a certain age? Why reduce 3 decades of work to whether I look young enough to be desirable? Joy's face flushed red. I never said anything about desirability. I'm talking realism. No, Joy, Kate shot back, her voice rising slightly. You're talking about ageism and sexism, and you're doing it on national television while I'm sitting right here. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Whoopi glanced between her co-host and Kate, clearly trying to salvage what had become a complete disaster. You know what? Joy said, throwing up her hands. If you can't handle honest criticism about your career choices, maybe you shouldn't be doing interviews. Kate's eyes widened, disbelief written across her face. Honest criticism? Joy, you've spent the last 10 minutes attacking me personally and professionally for no reason at all. This isn't criticism, it's cruelty. Cruelty? Joy laughed bitterly. Oh, that's rich. Coming from someone living in a bubble of privilege. You think a little honest feedback is cruel? Try living in the real world, sweetheart. Kate's jaw dropped at the condescending tone. Sweetheart? Did you just call me sweetheart? Yes, I did, Joy said defiantly. Because you're acting like a spoiled child who can't handle the truth. The other host looked mortified. Sarah Haynes opened her mouth to intervene, but Kate raised a hand firmly. No, I want to hear this, Joy. Explain to me what truth you think you're delivering here. Joy leaned back smug. The truth is, Hollywood is obsessed with youth. And instead of challenging that system, you're enabling it. You're taking roles away from younger actresses who could actually bring authenticity to these parts. Taking roles away? Kate repeated, incredulous. Joy, do you understand how casting works? You really think I'm out here stealing scripts from 25-year-olds? It's about the choices you make that feed into a toxic system, Joy insisted. And when someone points it out, you cry sexism instead of taking responsibility. Kate's patience was thinning. Let me get this straight. You're saying that I, as a woman, am responsible for Hollywood's ageism because I continue to work? That I am personally accountable for a systemic problem? Joy nodded. You could use your platform to advocate for better representation instead of just taking whatever role pays the most. The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Kate's eyes narrowed, a mix of disbelief and simmering anger. Whatever role pays the most. Joy, do you even know what you're talking about? I know you're not exactly hurting for money, Joy shot back. So why not be more selective? Leave some roles for actresses who actually need them. Whoopi finally tried to step in. Joy, I really think— No, Whoopi, Kate interrupted, her eyes locked on Joy. I want to address this myself. Since you seem to know so much about my career, let me educate you. The film we're discussing? I took a significant pay cut to make it because I believed in the story. The director is a first-time female filmmaker, and half the crew were women under 30. But please do go on about how I'm hurting other women. Joy's expression faltered for just a moment, but she pressed on. One film doesn't erase decades of questionable choices. Questionable choices? Kate repeated, her voice dangerously quiet. Joy, do you even understand what you're accusing me of? Kate's voice grew stronger, firmer, every word carrying the weight of decades in the industry. Joy, I've spent my entire career choosing projects that challenge me as an artist and tell important stories. I've worked with female directors, supported independent films, and used whatever influence I have to create opportunities for others. What exactly have you done? Joy snapped, defensive. I don't need to justify my career to you. No, but you seem to think I need to justify mine to you, Kate shot back. You've spent this entire interview attacking my age, my choices, my character. And for what? What is the point of this? Joy's face flushed red. The point is that someone needs to have these conversations. Someone needs to call out the hypocrisy. Hypocrisy? Kate demanded, leaning forward. Please explain to me where the hypocrisy lies in an actress continuing to act. Joy didn't hesitate. The hypocrisy is pretending that age doesn't matter when it clearly does. You can't play a college student anymore, Kate. Accept it. Kate let out a short, bitter laugh. A college student? Joy, when was the last time you actually watched one of my films? I haven't played a college student in over 20 years. You know what I mean, Joy said dismissively. No, I really don't, Kate replied, voice rising slightly. Everything you've said today is based on assumptions and stereotypes, not facts. You haven't asked about my craft, my preparation, or the themes of this film. You've just attacked me personally. The audience, silent for most of the exchange, began murmuring, some visibly uncomfortable with what they were witnessing. I'm not attacking you, Joy insisted. I'm having a real conversation about real issues. Kate's voice cut through sharply. Joy, the real issue is that you invited me onto your show under the pretense of discussing my work. Instead, you've spent the entire time trying to tear me down. That's not journalism. That's not entertainment. That's just mean-spirited. Mean-spirited? Joy scoffed. You're being way too sensitive. This is how interviews work. No, Joy, Kate said firmly. This is not how interviews work. This is how bullies work. You've been condescending, dismissive, and outright rude from the moment you opened your mouth. Joy's eyes flashed with anger. Excuse me, did you just call me a bully? If the shoe fits, Kate replied without hesitation. The tension was unbearable. Joy's face turned crimson, her voice rising. You have some nerve coming onto my show and insulting me like this. Kate raised an eyebrow. Your show? I thought this was The View, not the Joy Behar show. And I'm not insulting you, Joy. I'm responding to your behavior. My behavior has been perfectly professional, Joy protested. Kate's voice was incredulous. Joy, you called me sweetheart, questioned my intelligence, attacked my career choices, and suggested I'm too old to do my job. In what universe is that professional? The other hosts shifted uncomfortably. Sunny Host tried to interject. No, Kate said sharply, cutting her off. I want to finish this, Joy. I came here excited to talk about a project I care about. Instead, I've been subjected to what can only be described as a character assassination. Why? What did I do to deserve this treatment? Joy's response was immediate. You didn't do anything. This is just how television works. If you can't handle the heat, don't do interviews. Kate stared at her in disbelief. So this was intentional. You deliberately set out to make this unpleasant. I set out to have an honest conversation, Joy replied. If that made you uncomfortable, that's not my problem. Honest conversation? Kate's voice rose again. Joy, there's been nothing honest about this. You've been cruel, unprofessional, and frankly embarrassing to watch. Embarrassing to watch? Joy's voice shrilled even higher. You're the one having a meltdown on live television because you can't handle a few tough questions. Kate's eyes blazed. Tough questions, Joy? Asking about my process, my inspiration, or my collaboration with the director would be tough questions. What you've done is launch a personal attack disguised as an interview. Oh, please. Joy waved her hand dismissively. You Hollywood types are all the same, Joy shot, voice sharp. You expect everyone to kiss your feet and tell you how wonderful you are. Kiss my feet? Kate's voice was deadly calm now. Joy, I expected basic human decency. I expected to be treated with the same respect you'd show any other guest. Clearly, that was asking too much. Joy leaned forward aggressively. You know what your problem is, Kate? You've been surrounded by yes men for so long that you can't handle anyone who doesn't worship you. My problem? Kate stood abruptly, the chair scraping the floor. My problem is sitting right across from me. You've been hostile, condescending, and unprofessional since the moment I arrived. Sit down, Joy commanded. We're not done here. Kate looked down at her with cold fury. Oh, we're absolutely done here. I don't know what kind of show you think you're running, Joy. This isn't journalism. It isn't entertainment. It's cruelty for the sake of cruelty. You're being ridiculous, Joy snapped. This is exactly the kind of prima donna behavior I was talking about. Prima donna behavior? Kate's voice rang across the studio. Joy, I have sat here for 20 minutes while you insulted my age, my career, my intelligence, and my character. I have responded with more patience and grace than you deserve. If standing up for myself makes me a prima donna, so be it. Whoopi finally rose, trying to regain control. Ladies, let's all take a breath here. No, Whoopi, Kate said, never breaking eye contact with Joy. I want everyone to understand what just happened. I came on this show in good faith to discuss my work. Instead, I was ambushed by someone with a personal agenda. Personal agenda? You think this is personal, don't you? Joy shot to her feet. Kate didn't flinch. Because I can't think of any other reason why you would treat a guest this way. What did I ever do to you, Joy? You didn't do anything, Joy admitted, voice rising. But someone needs to hold you people accountable. You people? Kate's eyebrows shot up. Who exactly are you talking about? Entitled celebrities who think they're above criticism, Joy spat. Kate shook her head in disbelief. This wasn't criticism, Joy. This was a hit job. And the fact that you can't tell the difference says everything about your character. My character? Joy practically shouted. You don't know anything about my character. Oh, I know enough, Kate replied coolly. I know you think it's acceptable to humiliate guests on national television. I know you think ageism and sexism are valid forms of journalism. And I know that when called out, you double down instead of showing even a shred of professionalism or humanity. The studio descended into chaos. Producers gestured frantically from behind the cameras, and the other hosts looked mortified. Joy's face turned purple with rage. How dare you lecture me about professionalism? She screamed. Kate's voice was calm but cutting. I've been doing this job since before you were famous. Experience isn't an excuse for bad behavior, Joy. If anything, it makes this worse. Get out. Just get out, Joy shrieked. Kate stared at her for a moment, then began removing her microphone. You know what, Joy? You're right. I can't handle this. I can't handle watching a grown woman throw a tantrum because she's been called out on unprofessional behavior. I'm not throwing a tantrum, Joy shrieked, proving Kate's point. This entire exchange, Kate continued, placing the microphone on the table, will be watched by millions, and they'll see exactly who you are. They'll see that when faced with pushback, you become abusive and hostile. I am not abusive, Joy yelled. Kate turned to the cameras, eyes steady. I want to apologize to anyone watching this. You tuned in expecting to hear about art, storytelling, the creative process. Instead, you witnessed something truly ugly. That's not your fault, and it's not what you deserved. She turned back to Joy one last time. And Joy, I genuinely hope you get the help you clearly need. This behavior isn't normal, it isn't professional, and it isn't acceptable. Don't you dare psychoanalyze me, Joy screamed as Kate began walking toward the exit. Kate paused at the edge of the set, looking back one final time. I'm not psychoanalyzing you, Joy. I'm just observing what everyone can see. You're out of control. I am in complete control, Joy bellowed, a statement that, in the context of everything that had just happened, couldn't have been more ironic. Kate shook her head, her expression a mix of sadness and resolve. No, Joy, you really aren't. And with that, Kate Winslet walked off the View set, leaving behind a stunned studio audience and a host still shouting at her retreating figure. Whoopi tried desperately to regain some semblance of control. We'll be right back after this commercial break, she said, her voice unsteady, betraying the chaos that had just unfolded. The cameras kept rolling, capturing Joy ranting to herself, the tension in the room thick enough to feel through the screen. It was unmistakable. Something unprecedented had occurred. A respected world-class actress had been pushed to her absolute limit by a host who had completely lost sight of basic human decency. This incident would be remembered, not for any film promotion, but for the way it perfectly illustrated what happens when professionalism collides with its complete opposite. So, what do you think? Was Kate right to walk out, or should she have stayed and tried to salvage the interview? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear what you think about this unforgettable showdown.